You wake up and for about 3 seconds you forget. 3 seconds where you don't remember the warehouse, the backpack, the money, Ruben's face, the federal vehicles hitting from 3 directions. 3 seconds where you're just a person in a bed. Then you see the ceiling. It's beige and slightly water-stained in the corner, and it belongs to an apartment in Tucson, Arizona, that you have been living in for 11 weeks under the name Marcus Webb. Marcus Webb. You say it out loud sometimes. In the morning before you get up. Not because you've forgotten it, you can't afford to forget it, but because there's something about hearing it in your own voice that keeps you from losing the thread of who you're supposed to be. Marcus Webb is 31 years old. He moved here from Ohio following a breakup. He works at AutoZone on Speedway Boulevard and keeps to himself and drinks his coffee black and doesn't make small talk unless someone starts it. You hate black coffee. You've always taken it with cream. You drink it black anyway. The rules of witness protection are not what you see in movies. There is no bulletproof safe house. There is no round-the-clock security detail. There is no man in a black SUV parked outside your door. There is a handler named Garrett. Garrett calls every Thursday at 9 in the morning from a number that changes every 2 weeks. He asks 3 questions. Are you safe? Have you had any contact with prior associates? Have you noticed any surveillance? You say yes, no, no. He says good. That's the whole call. The first time it happened, you waited for more. Some reassurance, some update, something that felt like being protected. But Garrett is not in the business of reassurance. He is in the business of managing assets, and you are an asset. And assets don't get reassured. They get managed. You are also not supposed to. Contact your mother, contact Danny, access your old email, search your own name online, return to Nogales under any circumstances or establish any relationship that requires you to explain your past. The last rule is the one that costs the most. Because here's what nobody tells you about disappearing. It's not the big things you miss. It's not the city or the shop, or even your real name. It's the small things. The way your mother calls on a Tuesday for no reason. The smell of the bay after a rain. The specific way Danny laughs at something that isn't even funny yet, already knowing the punchline. Those things are gone. And in their place is Marcus Webb drinking black coffee at a beige ceiling at 6:43 in the morning. The first sign that something is wrong comes on a Wednesday, not Thursday. Garrett calls on Thursdays. Wednesday. You're on your lunch break, sitting in your car in the AutoZone parking lot, eating a sandwich you made at home because the restaurant 2 blocks over has a waitress who asks too many questions, and you've learned to avoid anyone who asks too many questions. Your phone rings. Not a number you recognize, you let it ring. 11 times. Stop. 15 seconds later, it rings again. You answer. Static. Then a voice you haven't heard in 11 weeks. It's me, Danny says. Your hand tightens around the phone. You can't call this number, you say. Flat, controlled. I know, just listen. How did you get this number? I still know people. That sentence lands wrong. That sentence is exactly the kind of sentence that got you into this. Danny, they know where you are. The parking lot outside your windshield is very bright. A woman loads bags into an SUV 2 rows over. A kid on a bicycle cuts through the far end of the lot. A completely normal Wednesday in Tucson, Arizona. What did you say? You ask. Cortez. Not Cortez, he's in custody. But the people above Cortez. The network. Someone up there has been asking questions about the federal witnesses from the Nogales operation. For 3 weeks. Yesterday, someone showed a photograph. Danny stops. I don't know if it's you. I'm saying maybe. I'm saying be careful. Who told you this? Silence. Danny, who told you this? It doesn't matter who. It absolutely matters who. Another silence. Ruben, Danny says. You sit in that parking lot for 4 minutes. Ruben, the man with the sweat marks. The man who waited without ever reaching. The man who looked at you in that warehouse with an expression you couldn't name, and you realize now, sitting in a Tucson parking lot eating a sandwich you no longer have appetite for, that the expression you couldn't name was recognition. He knew you were wearing a wire. He didn't say anything. He didn't stop the exchange. He let it happen. And now he's feeding information to Danny, which means one of three things. Either Ruben turned and he's working with the feds, and this is some kind of test, or Ruben is still connected to the network above Cortez, and he's running a play you can't see, or Danny is lying too. You, and this call was designed to make you do something. Move, reach out, break protocol. That reveals your location to someone who's been looking. You cannot tell which one it is. That's the thing about disappearing nobody explains beforehand. You lose the ability to trust your instincts, because your instincts were built for a life you no longer live. You are Marcus Webb now, and Marcus Webb has no instincts about cartels and informants and men who let federal raids happen without flinching. Marcus Webb makes his own sandwiches and drives an 11-year-old Nissan. You wrap up the rest of yours and put it in the bag. You drive back to work. Right now, do you believe Danny? Is he warning you because he actually found something? Or is this a trap designed to flush you out? Write warn or trap in the comments. I need to know what you would do. You call Garrett, not on Thursday, not from the apartment. You drive to a Walgreens 3 miles away, buy a prepaid phone with cash, and call the emergency number he gave you on day 1. A number you memorized and were told to never use unless you had no other option. He answers on the second ring. This line is for emergencies, he says. I know, you say. This is one. You tell him everything. Danny's call, Ruben's name, the photograph, all of it. Garrett listens without interrupting. When you finish, he's quiet for a moment. The specific quiet of someone running calculations, not someone surprised. When did the call come in? He asks. About 2 hours ago. Where are you now? Walgreens on Campbell, prepaid phone. Good. Throw it away when we hang up. Go back to the apartment. Don't change your routine. We'll have eyes on your block within the hour. And Danny? The pause this time is longer. Your cousin reached you through an unsecured channel using an unregistered number, with information from a cartel-connected source, delivered in a way designed to create urgency. Garrett's voice is even, careful, without affect. You understand what I'm describing? You think he's running me, you say. Garrett doesn't answer, which is its own answer. That night, you sit in the apartment and watch the street from the side of the window, not in front of it, never in front of it. You learned that in week 1, and you think about Danny. You think about what Reyes told you at 5:30 in the morning 11 weeks ago, in the federal office with the bad coffee. Your cousin recruited you. 4 months under federal surveillance, 14 months working for Cortez. But here's the thing you keep returning to, the thing that keeps you from writing him off completely. He called you, and the fear in his voice was real. You've known that voice your entire life. You know the difference between Danny performing fear and Danny actually being afraid. He was afraid. For you. Which doesn't mean he's not also running you right now. People can love you and use you simultaneously. That's one of the things this whole experience has taught you. The two things aren't contradictions. They can exist in the same person in the same phone call at the same time. That's what makes it impossible. Thursday morning, 9 o'clock. Garrett doesn't call. 9:05, 9:10. At 9:14, your phone rings, not the prepaid, your actual phone, with a number you don't recognize. Marcus, a woman's voice says, calm, professional. My name is Chen. I'm with the U.S. Marshals. I've been asked to reach you by Special Agent Garrett. He's been delayed this morning. Why is he delayed, you ask? Routine internal matter. I need to ask you a few quick. What's the verification code? You ask. Silence. Garrett gave you a verification protocol on day 1, a rotating code word, updated monthly, that any official contact would know. You've never had to use it. You're using it now. I'll need to pull that from the file, Chen says. It should already be in the file, you say. It's standard protocol. The fade silence that follows lasts exactly 2 seconds too long. I'll call you back, she says. She hangs up. And you understand, sitting in your kitchen with your black coffee going cold on the counter, that Garrett is not delayed. Something has happened to Garrett. 45 seconds. That's roughly how long it takes for a call to be traced to an apartment address if someone is already looking. You leave the coffee. You take the pre-packed bag from the closet. Clothes, cash, the second ID Garrett. Never knew you kept your real one, the one with your actual name. And you walk out the front door. You don't run. Running draws attention. Marcus Webb doesn't run. You walk to your car, start it, pull onto Speedway like you're headed to work. In your rearview mirror, a white sedan pulls away from the curb half a block back. 6 turns in 7 minutes. The sedan stays with you through 4 of them. On the 5th, you pull into a parking garage, go up to the 3rd level, kill the engine, and wait. The sedan doesn't follow. You sit in the silence of the structure. Oil smell, concrete echo, the distant hum of the city, and you count to 60. Then 60 again. Nobody comes up the ramp. You don't feel relieved. You feel like someone who just noticed they're standing in a room with fewer exits than they thought. Your phone buzzes. A text. No name. This is Victor. Burner. Don't respond. New location. 2 hours. Sit tight. You are now someone who receives texts from a DEA informant on a phone that can't be traced to either of you, in a parking garage in Tucson, with a handler you can't reach and a sedan that may or may not be watching your apartment. This is your life in witness protection. Not the movie version. Not the version where the government puts you somewhere safe and tells you it'll be fine. This version, where you eat your sandwiches alone and drink your coffee wrong and talk to a ceiling every morning just to practice being someone you're not, where the only people you can trust are the people you're not supposed to contact and the people you're supposed to trust have stopped calling. Victor finds you at a Denny's off I-10. He looks older, not by years, by something that doesn't move in years. He sits across from you and orders coffee and looks at you the way he looked at you that night in the Home Depot parking lot, like you are a problem he genuinely didn't see coming. Garrett's fine, he says. You exhale for what feels like the first time in 3 hours. He was pulled into an internal review this morning. Someone flagged anomalous activity on your case file. What kind of anomalous activity? Someone accessed your relocation file 3 days ago, not through normal channels. Victor wraps both hands around his mug. We think it was an inside access. The word inside lands like something falling off a shelf. Someone inside the program? You ask. We don't know yet. The woman who called. Chen. There's no Chen on the Tucson Marshals roster. He looks at you steadily. You did the right thing with the verification code. Who accessed the file? We're working on it. That's not an answer, Victor. I know it's not. He turns his mug in a slow circle on the table. You've seen him do this before, when he's deciding how much to tell you. The mug goes around and comes to rest. Danny walked into the Phoenix field office at 7 this morning, Victor says. You go still. Voluntarily. He asked for a conversation. Victor pauses. He says Ruben contacted him 10 days ago with a message for you, a warning. He sat on it for a week because he didn't know if he could trust it. Then he decided not sitting on it was worse. He told you all of it? All of it, including how he got your number, including who gave it to him. Victor looks at you directly. He's scared. Not performing scared. Actually scared. You know the difference. You've always known the difference. What's the warning, you ask? Victor sets the mug down. The man above Cortez, the one who actually runs the network, the one Cortez answered to. He wasn't in the Nogales operation. He was never touched. His name never came up in the testimony. Victor's voice stays flat, but something behind his eyes shifts. His name is Mendez, and 3 weeks ago Mendez became personally interested in what happened to the federal witness from the warehouse. Me. You. The Denny's keeps going around you. Plates, conversation, someone laughing at the counter. A completely ordinary morning off I-10. Why personally, you ask? I didn't testify about him. I didn't even know his name. Because Cortez told him something before his arrest. Victor pauses. He told Mendez you saw more than you said. I didn't. I know you didn't. Then why would Cortez? Because Cortez needed to give Mendez a reason to go after someone other than him, Victor says. He threw you under the bus to buy himself protection inside. He looks at you evenly. You are, now as of approximately 3 weeks ago, the most dangerous loose end in Mendez's entire operation. Not because of what you know, because of what Cortez told him you know. Take a second right now, not to think about the cartel. Think about Cortez, a man in federal custody who decided to protect himself by pointing a finger at someone with no way to defend themselves. Have you ever known someone who did that? Someone who threw you under the bus to save themselves? Tell me in the comments. And, if you've been here from the beginning, subscribe. This story doesn't end here, not even close. Garrett meets you at a field office outside Tucson at 2 in the afternoon. He looks like a man who has had an extremely bad morning and is managing it by being extremely precise about everything. Tie straight, notes organized. He shakes your hand and closes the door and sits across a table with a bottle of water on it that nobody ordered. We need to move you, he says. Again. Immediately. Where? We don't finalize that until we identify the internal access point. We're not moving you to a location that might already be compromised. He opens a folder. Temporary location first, secure, off the standard relocation grid. How temporary? Days, not weeks. And Mendez? Garrett looks at the folder. Mendez has been on our radar for 4 years. We've never had grounds for a federal case. His operation exists above the level where the physical evidence lives. He turns a page. But something you said in your original testimony, something you probably don't even remember saying, gave us a thread. We've been pulling it for 11 weeks. You search his face. What did I say? During the debriefing, you mentioned that Ruben received a call while you were in the warehouse. You said the man used a word you didn't recognize. You thought it might be a name or a nickname. You said it sounded like El Arquitecto. The word sits in the air between you. You do remember. Barely. A fragment from an exhausted Wired morning 11 weeks ago trying to be useful. That's Mendez, Garrett says. That's what his own organization calls him. And you gave us that without knowing what you had. So I do know something, you say. You gave us a thread that 2 days ago connected to something large enough to take down not just Mendez, but the entire infrastructure above him. He closes the folder. Which is why the access to your file happened when it did. Someone inside the program is protecting Mendez, you say. Garrett looks at you. The silence is exactly the answer you thought it would be. They move you that night. A car arrives at 9:45 and you get in without being told where you're going. Victor is not in the car. Garrett is not in the car. 2 people you've never met sit in front and say nothing. You watch Tucson disappear behind you. The apartment, the beige ceiling, the AutoZone on Speedway, the waitress who asks too many questions, the sandwich you made every morning. Marcus Webb. You think about all the small props of a life that isn't yours, the mug, the routine, the practiced answers to casual questions, and how quickly all of it becomes the backdrop of someone who never existed. You are good at this, you realize. Not comfortable. Not at peace with it, but good at it. You are good at disappearing. The temporary location is a house outside Bisbee. Small, stone walls, the kind of house that has been standing for 70 years and intends to stand for 70 more. 2 rooms, a kitchen, a porch that looks out at a hillside covered in scrub brush. When the wind comes through at night, the brush moves in a way that could be anything. You sleep finally, on the first night. Not well, but you sleep. In the morning you sit on the porch with black coffee and watch the light come across the hills. Your phone rings. Garrett. The internal access has been traced, he says. We have a name. Who? A former marshal, retired 18 months ago. He's been providing location data to a contact in Sonora for several weeks. Garrett stops, starts again. His daughter has been held in Mexico for 2 months. Mendez's people have been using her as leverage. You sit with that. A father who had no good options and chose the one that would get someone else killed to protect his child. You sit with that for a long time. Is the daughter okay? You ask. She's been located. We're working on extraction. And the marshal? That's above my level, Garrett says, which means the man is not going to come out of this with anything left. It also means it's not your responsibility to decide what that means. You know how it feels to make a decision that destroys your own life because there was no good option. You know exactly how it feels. 6 days later, you are given a new name. Not Marcus Webb. Something different. Someone you'll have to build from scratch. New city, new story, new ceiling to wake up under. Before you leave, Garrett tells you the operation targeting Mendez has moved into its final phase. He can't give you more than that. What he can tell you is that your role in it, the thread you pulled without knowing you had it, El Arquitecto, said almost as an afterthought in a debriefing room 11 weeks ago, is now woven into something much larger than one warehouse in Nogales. What about Danny, you ask? Garrett looks at the window. Your cousin has formally entered a cooperation agreement. He provided enough to significantly assist the Mendez investigation. In exchange, he'll receive a reduced sentence and be relocated. He pauses. He'll be nearby. Different name. You won't know which one. He won't know yours. You close your eyes. Somewhere in a city you'll never know, with a name you'll never know. Danny is starting the same thing you started 11 weeks ago. A ceiling that isn't his. Coffee that tastes wrong. A practiced answer for every casual question. Loving. Danny cost something. You always knew that. You just didn't know it would cost him the same thing it cost you. The car comes at 7 in the morning. You've packed the same bag you packed 11 weeks ago. Same things, different destination. A different name written on the inside cover of a book you'll never read in public. You stand at the door of the Bisbee house for a moment. The hills outside are the same color as the hills outside Nogales in early morning. The light is the same. The scrub, brush moves in the same wind. You think about the warehouse floor, the box, the money scattered like leaves on concrete, your hands moving before your brain did. If you could go back to that exact moment, hands already moving, money on the floor, nobody watching, would you do it differently? You've thought about this for 11 weeks. You have a different answer every day. Some mornings, yes. Obviously, yes. Look at what it cost. Some mornings the answer is more complicated. Some mornings you think about Mendez, about El Arquitecto, about a word you said almost as an afterthought in a debriefing room, tired and wired at 5 in the morning, that connected to something large enough to bring down an entire infrastructure. You didn't plan that. You were just trying to survive. And sometimes survival leads somewhere you never expected to go. The car is waiting. You pick up your bag. You walk out to meet the next version of yourself. And somewhere, Mendez's people are still looking for the federal witness from the Nogales warehouse, which means you're still doing something right. You've been here from the beginning. You were there when it was $38,000 on a warehouse floor. You were there through the motel, the wire, the federal raid, the morning everything changed. You sat with all of it. Now here's what I want to know. If you had to choose one life, no compromise, a safe, invisible life that ends quietly and never matters beyond your own front door, or this, the risk, the cost, the loss of everything familiar, and the chance, just the chance, to accidentally become part of something larger than you ever planned for. Which one do you choose? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone. And if you know someone who's had to start over, new city, new name, new version of themselves, share this with them. Sometimes the story of survival is also the story of who you become on the other side of it. This isn't the end of the files. Stay close.